Am I the a-hole for telling my husband I would not move without my name on the house? I, 32 female, bought the current starter home at age 22. My husband, 33 male, moved in about 3 years ago, just prior to us getting engaged. I've always considered this to be our home and now our 15-month-old daughter's home, even though my husband has never financially contributed to the mortgage. We are looking to move to a larger house, not because we intend to have additional children, but because my husband wants a man cave as well as a work-from-home office. He also says he wants a large house to host parties, just like his childhood home. I support his need for his own space and also see this potential move as a way to help our daughter get into a better public school district. Yesterday, my husband told me that when it comes to signing for the new house, it should be only his name on the deed. He believes he could qualify as a first-time home buyer and that this would save money on closing costs. We would be using the equity in our current home, about $200,000, for a down payment in order to afford the new mortgage. I told him, as a woman, I need to protect myself and would not move without my name being included on the home. I told him it would be stupid of me to use the equity in the home I've lived in for 10 years and not have my name on the new home. I mentioned that if something were to happen, or if his feelings for me changed one day, I would be left with nothing. He became very upset by me saying this. He said my thinking is flawed and that I need to go to a therapist to work on why I think like this. I told him I don't believe my thought process is irrational or flawed, and that while I understood he was offended by my statement, this was a non-negotiable for me. Additional background: my husband makes the same amount of money as I do, and he pays the electric bill and half of daycare. He constantly talks about money and saving, and he has made me cancel subscriptions, like the gym, in the past, to save a quick buck. When our daughter needed surgery, his first thought was, well, how much is this going to cost? While mine was, is this surgery needed and safe? He grew up in a very wealthy family, and I grew up lower middle class. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If he doesn't want your name on the new house, then he'll just have to save up the down payment without using your house equity, which shouldn't be hard considering how little bills he pays. You can move into his house and rent out yours for extra income. I'd also make sure your will puts your house in a trust for your daughter. So if something happens to you and he remarries, your house will go to your kid without issue. That's a good idea. I haven't even thought about a will yet. He's either an idiot or trying to scam you. You need to figure out which one it is. So he never helped pay the mortgage, but you're using the equity from the home you purchased on your own to put down on the new home, and he doesn't want your name on it? That man is crazy and disrespectful for even asking that of you. Right. Hope he would be incredibly stupid to do this. He hasn't contributed anything to their current home, so using the sale money of this house to buy a house that only belongs to the husband is insane. He is welcome to buy his own house, but he needs to do that with his own money. Then maybe OP could keep her current house as a rental or something. Gaslighting OP and telling her she needs therapy for not being okay with his insane offer makes it seem like he knows he's asking her to do something stupid that only benefits him and leaves her at huge risk. Yeah, and the fact she added he's penny pinching about their daughter's stuff. Cancel gym membership, daughter surgery. Like seriously? How much is it gonna cost? Not, oh my god, my daughter needs surgery. Shows if they were to divorce or separate, he will definitely steal that house and any equity out from under her. Tell him to pay for his house, and you can do him like he does you, pay the utilities and half of daycare. And the only reason he gives you for not wanting your name on the title is to save money on closing costs? Yes, that's right. I'm honestly not even sure if he would qualify for the first-time home buyer credit anyway. But yes, that's the only reason he gave. Next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting a divorce over my husband's drunken words? I'm going to try to keep a long story short. My husband and I had been trying for a baby with zero success. After some doctor's appointments, we found out my husband is sterile. This was really hard for him because he had always wanted to have a large family. We talked about all of our options and decided to use a sperm donor. We chose someone who resembled my husband, with the same hair and eye color. All through the pregnancy, my husband seemed excited, but once our son was actually here, he was very distant. I was told that men take longer to adjust to parenthood and that he'd come around, so I've tried to be patient. One of his friends is getting married soon, and he went out to the bachelor party. He got dropped off at home drunk. I wasn't upset about that. I was helping him upstairs to our room when our son started crying. He has colic, so he cries a lot, and we're all exhausted most of the time. My husband looked at me and said, "Every time he cries, I just think about you having another man's baby." I was in shock. I felt hot and cold at the same time when I heard that. I got him up the stairs and he went to bed. I went to my son's room and slept there. First thing the next morning, he was apologizing, saying that he didn't mean it like that, but he couldn't tell me how he did mean it. So I asked if he felt like our son was his, and he just stared at me. That felt like my answer. Now me and the baby are at my parents' house, and I don't think I want to be with my husband anymore. Maybe it's postpartum, maybe it's hormones, or maybe I'm just the a-hole. I'm too tired and hurt right now to figure it out, so you tell me. Not the a-hole. I truly doubt that this resentment towards the baby, or in general the situation, is new. The fact that it finally came out, it was because the baby is now real and he can't pretend anymore. He should have been more honest with himself and with you from the beginning. I think he probably always assumed that you were the one with the problem that prevented a real pregnancy, and he is very angry with himself and the world, and maybe especially you, that you had to use a sperm donor. That made him feel inadequate, and now he feels inadequate when he looks at the new baby. Just a guess. He needs to explore this in therapy. Not the a-hole. Having a baby is hard. Although the baby isn't biologically his, he agreed to have a child with you. This is how you both decided to go about it. What is more important than passing down genetics is passing down love and character values. If roles were reversed and you had to use a donor egg with a surrogate mother, would he be okay with you saying that he had another woman's baby? For real, it's not about the DNA. It's about who shows up for that baby every day. That man agreed to be a dad. He can't just back out when it gets real. Not the a-hole. My parents were in almost the same situation you have when they had me. Sperm donor. Except I don't really look like my dad. He could never let go of the pain he had about the fact that I had another man's DNA and had some resentments from that. Still tried his best to be my dad, but sometimes in heated moments that resentment came out. Your husband needs therapy. He's grieving and doesn't know it. He's grieving a vision of his life he thought he would have and needs to be brought to the one he actually has. Torturing himself over something that ultimately would never happen is not going to help himself, you, or your child. I was all ready to be like, OP's husband is horrible, but you're right. Like, just look at how difficult infertility can be for women. There's a difference between grieving infertility and not wanting or regretting the child, though of course they could look similar. Man, I hate that I grew from your comment, but I really hope OP sees this, because you're right. If grief is what's going on, this is still salvable. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit for my sister because I don't want her stepdaughter in my house or to be on my own with her? My sister 30s has been married to Nick 30s for 6.5 years. Nick has an 11-year-old daughter, Abby, from his first marriage, and my sister and Nick have 2 biological kids together. Nick shares custody of Abby with his ex-wife. For a while, things were okay. Everyone in our family got along with Nick and adored Abby. Things changed when Abby's mom's second marriage ended 5 years ago. After that, the woman became a nightmare for my sister and Nick, and she was doing her very best to turn Abby against my sister and our family, and later her younger siblings. For over a year now, they've had a problem with Abby snooping in private areas for her mom, sending photos, and giving information to her. Nick and my sister had to start locking their bedroom door during the daytime. They were locking up medications extra tightly because even those Abby's mom wanted proof of. Abby was doing the same snooping at other houses too, like my parents, my other sisters, and my aunt's houses. Abby's whole personality around us has changed too. I know she's at an age where that kind of stuff happens anyway, but she's just so rude. Around Nick's family, she hasn't changed. She's outright denying we're her family now, and she claims she's an only child and only has cousins from her mom and dad, even though when she was younger, she claimed my other siblings' kids as cousins too. An I-20s male was the fun uncle, but she doesn't see me that way anymore. Not only the fun part, but the uncle part too. I'm not dealing with that alone, and I'm certainly not watching an 11-year-old like she's one and ignoring the other kids, because there's a risk she'll snoop around my house the second my back is turned. This is something Nick has brought to court, and I acknowledge that he's trying. They have Abby in therapy too, and she's faced consequences for snooping. But she gets encouraged by her mom and rewarded for it. So why would she stop? My sister wanted me to babysit the kids this weekend for several hours. I didn't have plans, but I said no. This weekend they have Abby, and I'm not doing that. My sister offered to let me stay at their house if that would work out better, but I told her that would still mean having to deal with Abby's attitude and behavior. She understood, but Nick didn't. And he told me giving up on Abby won't fix anything, and that I'm going to make things worse. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. At any moment, it could escalate to Abby making false claims against someone, and it could ruin lives. It's not a risk worth taking. No one in your family should be alone with her at any time. I was just saying this. Her mom seems to know no boundaries and is teaching the kid to be the same. Yeah. And that combo can become dangerous for anyone left alone with her. You're not giving up on her. You just don't want to be stuck watching a rebellious preteen that's being encouraged to start problems. You need to be very careful around her now. She could say things and make claims that could cause serious problems in your life. With her mom encouraging this behavior, it wouldn't surprise me. Try not to be alone with her. Watch out for yourself. Have your phone ready to record if you do get stuck alone with her. Especially considering the snooping hasn't led to the outcome Mom and now Abby want, Mom getting full custody. So what would they try next? Molestation claims? This has every danger of potentially escalating to that, especially as Abby no longer views OP as her uncle. So yeah, OP as a lone adult male babysitting her in this situation could literally destroy his life. Even false claims of SA, which are later recanted or proven false, can still destroy a person's life, career, friendships, reputation. People may always have a lingering suspicion that never really goes away completely. Maybe Mom and Abby would not go that far, but with so much at stake, better safe than sorry. Nobody should be alone with this kid. Right. What if her mom encouraged her to say you did something to her? This could potentially ruin your life. Don't take the risk and explain it that way to your sister and Nick. It's not out of the realm of possibility, which is another very good reason for my refusal. Not the a-hole. Explain your worry about her ability to claim things that have never and would never happen falsely because her mom said to. Did the courts intervene because of the alienation that the mom has perpetrated? Because that is what dad should be going after full custody, with monitored visits for mom only. The courts haven't done a whole lot so far as anyone can see. Their lawyer thinks the fact the alienation isn't being used against Nick specifically, that it's not being taken as seriously. But Nick and my sister are doing what they can to try and prove that it's still harmful. Last story. Am I the a-hole for walking out of our gender reveal after my boyfriend's ex showed up uninvited and he acted like it was no big deal? I, 25 female, am currently 21 weeks pregnant. My boyfriend, 27 male, and I planned a small gender reveal with close friends and family. Nothing over the top. Backyard setup, cupcakes, balloons, just something chill and happy. About 15 minutes before we were supposed to do the reveal, his ex shows up. Not just shows up, walks in like she owns the place, hugs him, brings a gift, and says something like, "I wouldn't miss this. I helped raise this man." I just stood there like, what? For background, they dated for 5 years and broke up 2 years before we got together. He claims they're still on good terms and talks to her here and there. I've told him before that I'm not comfortable with that, especially now that I'm pregnant. He always says she's just part of his past and not a threat. I pulled him aside and asked why she was here. He told me she texted him earlier, asking if she could come, and he said yes, because he didn't think it was a big deal. No heads up, no warning. And this is a party I planned while I'm carrying our child. I told him this was disrespectful and that I didn't want her there. He got annoyed and told me to relax and not make a scene, and that it's not the time to be jealous or petty. So I left. I didn't yell or go off. I just grabbed my stuff and walked out because I wasn't about to sit through that and pretend I was fine. Now he's mad at me for ruining the reveal and says I embarrassed him in front of his family. His mom texted me saying I need to grow up and stop being so emotional for the baby's sake. I honestly feel like no one is seeing how messed up it is that he invited his ex to something this personal without even asking me. So, am I the a-hole for walking out? Oh, this is not gonna end well. Not at all. She wanted this to happen. It was a power move. It won't be a surprise if they wind up together again. If? This was a close friends and family event. Is the ex family? Is she close friends with the mom-to-be? I can see her as the stepmom co-parenting the baby. Is that why she wanted to be there? To establish her place in the baby's life from the start? Would she rewrite history for the kid? This is your dad and I at your gender reveal party. Not the a-hole at all. You planned this. You're pregnant, and he invited his ex without even a heads up? That's not good terms. That's straight up disrespect. The fact that he doubled down and told you to relax instead of supporting you? Nah, you didn't ruin anything. He did, by prioritizing his ex's comfort over yours at your own gender reveal. I'd have walked out too, pregnant or not. Exactly. Like, how was I supposed to just stand there smiling while his ex is front and center at something so personal to me? It wasn't even about jealousy. It was the complete lack of respect. And then being told to relax, like I was just being hormonal? No, I left because I deserved better in that moment. The ex inviting herself, and so comfortably showing up, was a power play. She's saying she will always be more important to Guy than you. Just look at me, here at your intimate gender reveal. His reaction to you is him solidifying this to you. His mom made sure it was extra clear. You and your baby deserve better. Absolutely not the a-hole. There's no way an ex should be involved in a gender reveal. And by the way, how did the ex find out about it? There's more to this story, OP. Watch your back. That's what I said. I didn't even know she knew about it. Turns out my boyfriend mentioned it to her in passing because they still talk sometimes. I'm honestly still mad and kind of rethinking a lot right now. Would I be the a-hole for ending my marriage because I want bio kids when I have 2 step-kids who already lost their mom? When I, 31 female, met my husband, I was upfront that having biological kids was one of my deal breakers. I always wanted to be a mom, and if I couldn't get pregnant naturally, fertility treatments would be something I'd want to pursue. I told him that if that wasn't something he was okay with, then I wanted him to be honest. He told me he would be fine with that, and that he wanted more kids too. He was a widower with 2 young kids at the time. I fell in love with him and them, and we married. We started trying to have children together, but naturally has not worked for us. I was given a medication to try and see if that helped, but it didn't. Then my fertility doctor recommended we do some tests. We did the tests, and we were told there is a very high chance intrauterine insemination would work for us. But now my husband has said he doesn't want to spend the money on that, and he feels we should just be thankful for the 2 kids we have and call it a day. When I told him my deal breaker was still a deal breaker, he asked me how. He said we have 2 kids, and why aren't they enough? He said being biologically related to our kids shouldn't be all that matters to me. I told him I will always be their stepmom, and that even though their mom passed away, I will forever be stepmom. She will forever be mom, and I want to be someone's mom. I told him that had not changed. He told me I was unreasonable, and that if I leave, then I've destroyed our family and the kids will suffer. He asked how they'd feel knowing they weren't enough for me. He then said I'm enough for them, and I said not really. I told him they will always long for memories of their mom, which they don't have. They will always crave something I can never give them. He told his family, and they started asking me how I could still consider this a deal breaker. They said being a true mom would mean I give up on my dream of biological kids and stand by my stepkids and be there even when they see me as not their mom, knowing that it's what truly makes me their mom. They said only a monster could make kids lose two mothers. I have tried to find out why he doesn't want to go through fertility treatments. I have the money. I saved before we met for stuff like this because I knew there was always a chance. He tells me the money could be better spent on the family we have, and it feels wrong to him to try so hard when we already have two kids. He's not willing to try or change his mind. Well, neither am I. Would I be the a-hole if I still leave? Now for the top comments. He thought you would change your mind. The good old-fashioned bait and switch. If having your own biological child is important, then you are no longer compatible. Why is it okay for him to have biological children, but you are not allowed to want that as well? It doesn't mean the steps are less important. You want to experience what he has been able to experience. Everyone coming at you needs to wind their neck in. It has nothing to do with them. You need to move on. He said the difference is his biological children are already here. They exist and they're real, while mine are still a hypothetical. He asked me how I'd feel if I still didn't have any after treatment. I said then I could come to terms with it, knowing I tried everything I could to have them. He didn't like the answer, but it's true. Not the a-hole. I feel like he had no intention of having other children. He just wanted someone to raise the children he had. You're a stepmom, not a mom. You have no rights. If they need something signed for school, your signature isn't valid. Doctor's visit? Same. Travel internationally not allowed. If you divorce, you won't get a single day with them because you don't share DNA. Was anyone willing to let you even adopt them? Would they even be open to the idea? They would not be open to me adopting them. That was never on the cards. And that is something I accept and support, because that would erase their mom from their birth certificate and change their legal relationship with their maternal family. They don't want that, and I would never ask that from them to make me a mom. Not the a-hole at all. Sounds to me like he strung you along hoping your deal breaker wouldn't be a deal breaker. That would be perfect for him. You spend your money on him and his kids and become a stand-in mom. He got everything he wanted. And hoping for more, and you got nothing of what you really wanted. Honestly, if I were you, I'd be royally pissed. If they haven't done testing, I'd wonder if he had a vasectomy. But they did. That was exactly where my mind went. I'd also be making sure her savings is still there. My savings are still there. They haven't been touched by anyone. Next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my dad out of my house after picked a fight with me over my stepmom? My dad and I, 31 male, always had a somewhat difficult relationship. I'm the youngest and the only son. My two older sisters are Mel, 35 female, and Kat, 37 female. Our mom died when I was 1, and our dad remarried when I was 4. My stepmom and I actually have a better relationship than my dad and I do. But it's my relationship with her that has made mine and Dad so bad. Mel and Kat don't have a particularly close or fond relationship with our stepmom. To them, she's just not mom and could never be someone important to them. For me, she's not my mom either, even though I don't remember my mom, but she still has a place in my life. That's something that bothers Dad. He always wanted me to call my stepmom Mom. He wanted me to let her adopt me, and he'd punish my sisters for talking about Mom too much around me. He'd get mad at me for asking them about Mom, or going into their room to see photos of her. He told me it was disrespectful to my stepmom. Then he'd say she was the only mom I actually knew, and I should treat her as such. My stepmom, for the most part, never pushed. A few times she did ask if I'd ever call her mom, and she was visibly disappointed when I said no, but she'd let it drop. Dad's and my relationship kind of leveled out when I went to college. He made a few comments on my wedding day that he expected my feelings to change when I had kids of my own. Now I'm a dad of 2 who's expecting a 3rd. We had family and friends over on Saturday, and my dad ended up in an awful mood because my 3-year-old pointed at a photo of my mom and called her grandma while he was holding her. Dad's whole attitude visibly changed, and after an hour he blew up and started yelling at me, asking what the heck was wrong with me. He said I was supposed to grow up once I became a dad and accept who my real parents are, and stop acting like blood is what matters. He kept asking me why my oldest said grandma to the photo and why I had a photo of my mom so clearly out for everyone to see. He asked me why I still called her my mom when my mom was sitting on the couch next to my wife. My stepmom tried calming him down, but I insisted that he leave. He tried to refuse and demanded I answer why my stepmom is still stepmom and why I let my sisters poison me. He told me I didn't deserve my stepmom and started cursing all over the place, so I made him leave. It enraged him further, but I didn't even care. He's been going crazy since then trying to talk to me, but it's not because he's sorry. He's still furious, and he told me a real man would have confronted his questions and not kicked him out. I've refused to respond since he was being so aggressive. But am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your dad is a crappy dad. To you and your sisters especially, for punishing them for talking about their deceased mother. You treat your stepmom with respect, and that's all that matters. Time to put your dad in timeout and not let him around until he learns to respect your decisions. It'll be a while before I trust him around my kids again after his behavior in front of them. Good. Your dad's a crappy dad, and you should do what it takes to protect your kids. Glad you're taking steps. Absolutely not the a-hole. You are not the a-hole for having boundaries or for honoring your late mother. Your father, however, is way out of line. I'm still mad that he was acting like that in front of my kids. What do your kids call your stepmom? Does she act like a grandmother? Does she babysit for you? Does she get them presents? If she does and she stopped, how would you react? They call her Nana. She doesn't babysit. Her and my dad have always gotten them gifts. If that stopped, then it stops. I kind of expect that to stop with the whole situation with my dad. Next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting to go back home because his mom won't acknowledge me as his wife? Okay, so I really don't know where to start, but this has been messing with my head for weeks now. I've been married to my husband for almost a year. We didn't have a big wedding or anything, just a small courthouse thing and a dinner with my family after. His mom didn't even come. She said she had a prior engagement. Whatever. Anyway, we recently moved into a duplex near his mom's house because she said she'd help out when we have kids soon. That was the first mistake. From day one, she never called me her son's wife. Not once. She calls me the girl, or that girl he brought home. I've literally heard her say to her friends, he's just going through a phase. A phase? Ma'am, we filed taxes together. This isn't a crush. I try to be respectful. I bring her food. I invite her over. I even bought her this sweater she kept pointing at during one of her shopping trips. She looked at it and said, I don't wear cheap stuff like this. I wanted to crawl under the floor. But the thing that really pushed me? Last weekend, we were all at a family dinner. She introduced my husband, his cousins, even her neighbor's dog, but not me. I was sitting right there, at her damn table, and she skipped me like I was just some random person who tagged along. Her cousin even asked, who's she? And she just shrugged. I pulled my husband aside and said, this isn't working. Either we leave or I'm packing my things and going back to my parents. I won't be treated like I'm invisible in my own marriage. You know what he said? Let's just give her time. Give her time? We've been married a year. I'm his wife, not a guest. And I'm sick of feeling like some stranger around the people he calls family. I don't want to force him to choose. But I also can't keep being disrespected like this while he stays silent. So yeah, I told him I wanted to go back to my parents' place. At least there I'm seen. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your husband should have your back in something like this. Go home to your own family and have a serious conversation with your husband about this because this is not a healthy relationship. Thank you. I really needed to hear that. You're right. I deserve support from my own partner. I'll take your advice seriously. If his response isn't to go completely no contact with his mom, don't bother. There is no leeway to be given at this point. She's made her position clear. It's her or you, and he has to choose because of her behavior. Is he going to choose to be married, or is he going to choose his mother? This is a lifelong decision, because if she runs you off, she's going to be power tripping and doing this to every woman after you. He's never going to have a loving wife and family, just his mom. If he's okay with that, time to pack up and leave. Furthermore, whatever this woman started on you, you should have put it right back on her. Never ever let someone degrade you. I don't care who they are. When they started to disrespect you and degrade you, put it back to them. I don't want to force him to choose. He already chose. He asked you to be his wife. Tell him to find his spine and shine it up and start treating you as his number one, or he can either go to marriage counseling or choose a divorce attorney. There's absolutely no reason for him to allow his mother to treat you like you don't exist. If he doesn't care enough to protect you, you don't need to be with him. The two of you are a nuclear family, and his mom is now extended family. Tell him to wake up and start acting like your husband and partner, and stop being a little mommy's boy. Just think what would happen if you had children by this man. She would take over completely, and he wouldn't support you, and you would have to be fighting all of them. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Don't do it. Move out. Get yourself a divorce and move on. Last story. Am I the a-hole for pulling away from my mom and half-siblings and not going to her house for any visitation? I'm 16 male, my dad's only child, but the oldest of my mom's 5 kids. My parents broke up when I was a newborn. My mom then had Cole, 14 male, 18 months after I was born, and then she had the rest of my half-siblings, Sarah 12, Evan 9, and Jaden 6. My half-siblings all have different dads, and I'm the only one who knows their dad. And mine? He shared custody of me, so I spent half my time with them and half with my dad. My mom was always trying to pawn my half-siblings off on my dad. She tried to make me responsible for getting him to take care of all of us. Most of the time when I was little, she'd send me home to dad and get me to ask him for money or to pick up my half-siblings to take with us places. Sometimes she showed up outside my dad's house with them and would pressure him to let them stay until her custody time of me. It was always super crazy, and she'd shame me for wanting to be at dad's house. Every time she picked up on how much I wanted out of her house and to be with dad, she'd berate me for leaving my half-siblings and ask why I never shared my dad with them. She'd throw fits if dad got me anything. I never brought stuff to her house, but if she saw me somewhere with it or saw it on his Facebook page, she used to FB stalk him, she'd freak. And she'd demand to know why I wasn't bringing it to her house to share. My relationship with my half-siblings was never good. They resent me, and I get frustrated at their complaints about me having a dad, or their fits and freakouts over me having a dad when they don't. That's why I asked dad if he'd be okay with me living with him full-time, and whether he'd take mom to court for that. It ended up being down to me, so I chose to live with my dad. My mom tried to tell me I had to go to her house, but I ignored her. Ever since, she's tried to make me come spend time with her and my half-siblings, but I pulled away, and I don't think I want to go back ever or try to keep a relationship with any of them. I'm happy with dad and was never happy there. I don't miss them. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, and I'm so sorry for all that. But if there is any court-ordered visitation or contact, please talk to your dad about it and do the minimum so he doesn't get in trouble if she pursues it. You're not responsible for your mom's choices or your half-siblings. You chose a stable environment over one that made you unhappy. Setting boundaries isn't wrong. Agree, it's not your fault nor your dad's fault that your mom's other children don't know their fathers. The only person at fault is your mom, and she doesn't want to solve her own problems that she created. No one can fix that for her but her. You made the right choice. Good luck to you. Not the a-hole. A literal whore for a mother is insane. She's definitely regretting busting it open for anybody after your dad. She's been looking for a good man. The only good man was your father. He's the only one around to take care of his kid, you, while the rest is nowhere to be found. Stay no contact from her forever. Don't call her, don't text her. If she reaches out, do not talk to her. Your siblings, though, are too young to understand. They're being controlled by y'all's mother. Hopefully, after all of you are grown, you can have a better relationship. Not the a-hole. Your mother failed all of you here. It is not your responsibility to make up for her poor choices, nor is it your father's. She should help her other children come to terms with the hand dealt each of them due to her choices, not tried to deflect it onto you and your father. At this age, it is totally understandable why you want none of them in your life, nor do you see a future self wanting any kind of relationship. That may remain constant, or it could change in the future. You never know. Personally, I think your mother's other children will need a great deal of therapy to come to terms with all the false expectations she has fed them. Your feelings are valid, and you are not wrong for having them, nor for not missing a toxic household. You may want to remain open in the future for limited contact, but you have several years to come to any consensus. I am glad the court saw what was necessary for you and your mental health. I hope life continues to grow more and more happy for you. Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad's wife I will never consider naming my child after her recently deceased mother? Original post. I'm currently 29 weeks pregnant with a girl. My husband and I have already chosen her name, as well as 2 backups in case it doesn't suit her. My dad's wife lost her mother a little under a year ago. They were extremely close, and her passing was unexpected, so she's not coping well. My husband and I are trying to be as helpful and accommodating as possible, but we don't live in the same country as them anymore, so there isn't much we can do. Back in February, my dad and his wife came to visit us for 10 days to celebrate our son's birthday. This was our first time seeing them after her mother's passing, and their first time seeing me pregnant. Early during the trip, we had dinner together. We all started talking about my pregnancy and the baby, and when my dad asked if we had any names in mind, his wife stopped us. She asked us if we could consider naming our daughter after her mother. She said she had been wanting to ask us this since she learned we were having a girl, and it would mean a lot to her if we could honor her mother like that. I don't think I have to justify why I wouldn't do that, but in case I do, I never liked her mother or thought of either of them as family. Even if I did, my husband doesn't like the idea of using our children's names as tributes, so we wouldn't name them after any of our deceased loved ones. My husband and I were taken aback. My dad looked a little awkward, so I think he was already expecting her to bring that up. I said I was sorry, but we had already chosen the name and weren't interested in changing it. The mood died a bit, but we did manage to change the subject and enjoy the rest of the evening. My dad's wife was quieter than usual for the next few days, but she didn't bring it up again until the final night of their trip. Everyone was at our place. She pulled me aside and, once again, expressed how perfect it would be for us to keep her mother's memory alive by naming a child after her. She started talking about how much she would have loved it and how a beautiful name such as hers shouldn't go to waste. I interrupted her and said there was 0 chance we would ever consider naming our child after her mother. I told her it would never be up for discussion, and for her own sake, she needs to accept that and stop bringing it up. I was admittedly harsher than I'd intended, but I'm not sure she would have gotten the message otherwise. She barely spoke to me and my husband until she and my dad flew home the next day. My dad and I have been talking about this. He agrees with our refusal. He didn't really like his mother-in-law either, though he never admitted it, but thinks I shouldn't have turned his wife down like that. He told me she's still dealing with her mother's passing, and I should have been more sympathetic. He's insistent she wouldn't mind our daughter's name if we at least told her we'd consider honoring her mother. I don't think humoring her would have been the best call, but I am worried I was too harsh. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. You owe her nothing, especially since you just call her dad's wife, so she doesn't even sound like a close stepmom. It's sad that her mother died, but what does that have to do with you or your unborn child? Don't let her emotionally manipulate you into changing your mind. My dad started seeing her when I was already in college, and he wasn't interested in remarrying at the time, so I never really registered her as family. I did live with them for a little while, but we had wildly different personalities, so we were never really close. Not the a-hole. She didn't take no when y'all politely said it, so harshly was the only way to get your point across. It's always weird when someone asks you to name a child after someone. It wouldn't even mean the same if you didn't do it, because you wanted to. When my son was born, my dad joked that his name was available, but didn't say anything besides that, and didn't complain about the name we actually chose. He later told me it was a joke and he always thought that was a bad idea. An adult who is middle-aged, not getting over the death of a parent like this, needs help from a professional. Again, they were extremely close. They'd take trips, go to concerts, and spend hours on the phone together, even after I moved out. I heard her refer to her mother as her best friend once. Back when I lived with them, she would call her mother multiple times a day, almost always just to narrate what she was doing. We're going to the restaurant. We got to the restaurant. We're ordering. We're eating. We're going home. Not the a-hole. There are only two people who have input into what name a child receives. The parents. Should people make suggestions? Well, in my opinion, only if the couple asks for them. You handled the situation well the first time she mentioned it, and she should have taken no for an answer. You had no choice but to be firm the second time. She should have let it go after the first time. Some of my family, including my in-laws, was miffed when we didn't take suggestions while naming our son. He was the first grandchild, so I chalked it up to excitement at the time. Now for the update. Hey guys, I came here for advice a few months ago. I gave birth to a healthy baby girl back in May. She's now a month old and thriving. We're all in love with her. My husband and I decided to go with our first choice for her name. Truth be told, the backups didn't stand a chance, and it suits her perfectly. My dad stopped bringing up the subject of how I'd talked to his wife a few weeks after my first post. The last thing he said about it essentially boiled down to, be nice to my wife, but for the love of God, don't name my granddaughter after my mother-in-law. He wanted to visit us this month to meet the baby, but I told him to wait a while longer. The house is a mess, and we're still getting used to having two kids. His wife has been very detached from anything that concerns my daughter. She spent the weeks leading up to my baby's birth radio silent. She usually lives on her phone and texts frequently, so I figured she was still upset. Both my and my husband's families like our daughter's name. My dad in particular complimented it a lot. His wife did not react to it. My aunt visited them recently and later told me that while my dad would show her pictures and videos of my daughter, his wife avoided the topic entirely and was cold whenever someone tried to get her to engage. To be clear, none of that ever bothered me. But this behavior was very out of character for her. When I was pregnant with my son, she created a group chat with my whole paternal family and her mother to start a countdown for his birth. She was my only acquaintance who protested when I said I didn't want pictures of my child posted online. About a week ago, my dad's wife called me. She reiterated that she felt I wasn't being very understanding of what she's going through, but apologized for how cold she's been lately. During the call, she explained that losing her mother had made her regret her decision not to have kids. Her mother had always wanted to be a grandmother, and she wishes she could have given her the opportunity to experience that. She took her mother's passing very hard, and it made her reflect on various things she wishes she'd done differently. But the news of my second pregnancy intensified that regret in particular. My dad's wife said that she'll always wish I'd named my daughter after her mother, but still accepts the name I chose. She also told me she'll start seeing a therapist soon. I was mostly quiet during the call because, frankly, I didn't know how to react. Having since had time to think about what she said, I'm a little freaked out. It's still hard to explain how I feel, and this isn't even close to my top concern right now, but I didn't see this coming. I almost feel bad admitting this, but I'm very glad we're in different hemispheres. I can't imagine what she's going through, and I wish her nothing but the best, but I don't think being close to my family right now would be good for either of us. Thinking back to how I handled things when she first asked us to use her mother's name, I'm pretty sure I made the right call. I sincerely wish I'd been more polite, but humoring her would have probably led to a much bigger headache. I'm not sure when we'll see her again, but it won't be until next year. My dad will come visit us in October, but she won't come with him. When she does meet my daughter, I hope she's doing better. Right now, I'll focus on my children. Postpartum sucks, and my husband and I are still getting adjusted to being a family of 4, but we love both our kids so much. I don't know how I got so lucky. I almost definitely won't post again. I am very tired and very busy, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. Thank you. Edit. To those asking, I'm freaked out because I wasn't expecting her reasoning to be that she regretted not giving her mother grandchildren, as I stated in this post. I sympathize with her grief, and I'm glad she's decided to get help. I think your stepmom was and is going through grief from losing her mom. She was hoping that by you naming your daughter after her, it would make it feel like she was still around. You did well by not naming your daughter after her. The good news is, she realized it, has apologized, and is seeking some grief counseling. I got my boyfriend a bracelet that has a small picture of his dad in it. His is a black leather braided strap with a small silver circle with the picture. You have to hold it up to the light to see the picture. So it's more than knowing what it is that makes him feel it. There are all types you can get. I chose a more masculine design, but there are more feminine ones you could find. I did a Google search and found the style I liked. The gift could be an apology for being harsh, but also a nice token of, I know you're going through it, and thought this might be a nice way to help you carry her with you. I'm very glad she's decided to start therapy. I feel like acknowledging that you need help is a necessary step, but actually going through with it is harder than it looks. I have a different experience with grief than she does. There was one specific time in my life in which I lost many of my loved ones very quickly. I've discussed that in therapy, but I regret not working through it sooner. Not the a-hole. That wasn't an apology. That was a justification for her actions. She still thinks she is in the right and probably believes you are doing a disservice. Money down, she refers to the child with her mother's name back in her area. I wouldn't let that happen. I don't doubt that. Good luck with the little one. My best piece of advice, don't let her arrogance control your life. This isn't impacting my children in any way right now, so I think we'll be okay. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to go home to my parents even after they called the cops and CPS? I, 16 male, went to my best friend's house 3 weeks ago and refused to go home even after my parents got CPS and the cops involved. My parents are still fighting to bring me back to them. They talked to my best friend's parents, and the adults had a several hours long talk. Afterward, my parents told me they'd change and they wanted to make things work. But I told them I didn't trust them, and that living with them comes with so much negativity and rejection that I'd rather be someplace where the people around me want me there. My parents told me they want me and that they never ever said otherwise. I said they did a crappy job of proving that to me, and then my parents told me I was punishing them for the actions of other people. The reason I left is basically my whole life's worth of family issues. My dad was divorced when he met my mom, and my mom's first husband had died. I think it was a year after my dad's divorce and 2.5 years after my mom lost her first husband when they met. My dad had 2 kids and my mom had 3. My half-siblings are 13, mom's oldest, 10, mom's middle, 9, dad's oldest, and 8, mom's youngest and dad's youngest, years older than me. My half-siblings hated their step-siblings and their step-parent. Before I was born, there was a ton of fighting. It got worse after I was born. None of my half-siblings liked me, and when I was 6 months old, my dad's ex-wife died, which created even more problems and hate, according to extended family. I don't know all the details, but when I was 3, my parents left me with my mom's oldest to babysit, and she left me in the house alone. My dad came home and found me, and my half-sister was nowhere to be seen. When Mom confronted her about it, she told her she'd left maybe 4 or 5 hours before. It was something my extended family on Dad's side talked about for years after, and I'd hear it being brought up every few weeks. Apparently, when I was little, a bunch of my toys were broken by my half-siblings. They'd kick or smash them so I couldn't play. I don't remember them doing it, but my dad admitted it happened, and he told me once he was glad it stopped by the time I could remember. I remember a lot of fighting, and I remember my half-siblings being really mad at me when I had no idea why. They always told me to stop calling them siblings or half-siblings, and to say we weren't family because we weren't. And I'd see them fight each other, step versus step, and then say the same mean stuff about me, but they still hated each other too. Whenever I was left with them, they would either lock me in my room or lock me outside a few times. My parents knew about it, but they kept leaving me with them. Other times, my half-siblings fought our shared parent because our parent would offer to drive them somewhere, and they'd say no way because they didn't want to be in the car with or next to me. My dad's kids even threatened to open the car door next to me and let me go if they had to sit next to me. Whenever I had a family birthday, they'd refuse to join in and would say stuff like they'd rather be dead over my dead body. I don't give a damn about him, or why would we celebrate nothing? They all moved out eventually, but my parents still saw their own kids a lot, and they'd join in for family celebrations as long as they weren't my celebrations. They'd always make a point of not being close to me. They refused sibling photos with me and their steps. At Christmas, they would come and bring gifts for cousins and leave me out. My extended family never cared more than my parents did. All my extended family were good for was telling me more about the stuff that happened before I was born or could remember. When my mom's oldest got married, she told my mom I wasn't invited, neither were the steps, and dad wasn't welcome either, but she guessed she couldn't stop her from bringing him as a +1. My mom and dad forced me to go anyway, and mom's oldest made a point to let it be known I wasn't wanted there. They tried to bring me to a baby shower for her too, and her husband would not let me in. Dad's oldest got married, and they forced me to go to that uninvited again. This time it was a smaller thing, so they refused to let me in, and my parents tried to fight it and basically made me watch as I was rejected over and over again the whole day. My parents still let my half-siblings into their house, where they were nothing but mean to me. My half-siblings who are married have spouses who ignore me. My mom's middle kid is getting married, and again I'm not invited, and my parents were planning to pull the same stuff again. They planned it even though she was rude when she came to our house like a month ago. My parents said I'm their sibling and all this other stuff. I realized they would never do better by me. That's why I left, and why I refused to go back. I don't trust them to stop putting me in those positions, and I don't believe them when they say they'll change. My parents told me I need to be home and not with my best friend's family, and as my parents, they can demand I go home. I told them even if my best friend's parents change their minds, I won't go back to them, and their house isn't my home. They told me I'm being difficult and putting my best friend's family in a bad place. My best friend's family told me it was good with them for me to stay, and my best friend's mom told me it would be better if I stayed. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I have family that still won't talk to each other at least 5 years after CPS had to get involved with them. It's a hard situation, and feelings get very hurt when outside forces have to be involved. You're hurt, and that's very valid. Them calling the cops and CPS made me realize that stuff like that should have been done when I was left on my own at 3 for hours, or when I was locked out as a little kid with no way to get back inside. But nobody cared then, and my parents doing it now when I'm safe was really annoying. Have you told them that? Have you asked them why they are involving CPS now that your toys aren't broken anymore, now that your life and safety aren't threatened anymore? If you want to let all of your frustration out, you could ask a meditation and therapy session where you can spew everything they allowed to be done to you without them having the chance to say that's disrespectful or fair. I did. They told me they were so sorry they didn't act sooner and they'll change. But I don't believe them. Maybe that sounds jaded, but it was only a few weeks ago they were insisting on forcing me to another wedding I'm not invited to and not wanted at. God, that's awful. I was pretty sensitive to rejection as a kid. I can imagine how badly this would affect you. To be forced into that situation again and again by your parents, a few times could be clueless, but it feels almost mean-spirited to make you the brunt of so much hate. You were and are a child for Pete's sake. Not the a-hole. Stay where you feel safe. I hope the best for you. May you be free of all of this and gain a found family who treats you with the love you deserve. My parents would always skip talking about the rejection and go to how I deserved to be there, that I was family, I'm the sibling and stuff, as if that made up for being rejected at every turn. The fact they could be so obvious about it shows that people around them know and support it too, so it's not like I'd have a good time even if my parents forced me in.